Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Gonna once again prove beyond a shadow of a doubt how rigged the NFL is, how repetitive it is with its rituals, and how dark and demented it is. Colorado, Denver Broncos score 38 points, improving to 7-6 after the death of Demaryius Thomas. And again, if you don't know the language of the cabal, you don't understand these rituals. For 8 years, we've been educating about Colorado and 38 and death and why there's so many mass shootings that are nationally televised out of that state and why so many games in Colorado are rigged specifically around that number, as we've capitalized off of in a huge way as a community for many years. And it's sad to think that these rigged games that can pad your pocket, they do involve ritualistic death of athletes, which we speak on again and again. And, for 8 years, haven't switched up the formula, taught the same consistent message, and just backed it up every single day. And for having this knowledge, again, you really can pad your pockets. There's gentlemen that will lay $100 out in a few different parlays over a weekend and bring home 1,000 or more week after week because of this knowledge. Where gamblers say never parlay, with this knowledge you can parlay. We murdered the NFL today, as we so often do. And again, just so you guys don't think all this stuff is hindsight, I'm just going to show a little bit of the live stream from yesterday and what we do, because I'll usually start off the stream. I'll go over what I'm looking at. We'll take some calls. Sometimes I notice something during the stream that I didn't see before I went live. Somebody calls in with a piece of information. But yesterday, I was thinking this Bills and Bucks game was pretty close. But then we saw something interesting in the headline from ESPN's page from yesterday, more than 24 hours before the game. And here, I'll just show you the way this stuff goes down so you understand that what I'm about to show you, because we're going to go over every game tonight. But I just want you to see what we saw in this Tom Brady game for the Bucks from the live stream yesterday. So, again, we do these for the Patreon community. And, again, it's not about sports gambling. It's really about understanding what's going on in the world. And if I remember, I'll get a lot more deeper into this. But here, just listen from yesterday, and then we'll talk more about today's games, because this is what we do. They're calling this the most important game of the year for the Broncos. I got to see what they put in that gematria right there. Most important game of the year. Let's see what they're emphasizing. Maybe it'll give us a clue. 3-2-2, huh? Huh. 3-2-2. Let me go back and look at this one more time. Let me go back and look at it one more time. Now the 3-2-2. I said something about Skull and Bones, didn't I? If the Bills lose, they're 7-6. Skull and Bones is 76. Remember who was president when this all started with Brady? George W. Bush, whose birthday is July 6th. Member of Skull and Bones. Okay. So, again, we start looking more at the Skull and Bones thing, and then I end up coming up with another epiphany, maybe 15 minutes later in the stream, and they're like, okay, this Skull and Bones thing is looking more and more like what they're going to do. And, I go on later in the stream to talk about Daniel Coit Gilman. I just want you to understand the significance. If you don't know about Skull and Bones, they're the secret society out of Yale. American football is credited to Walter Camp, who went to Yale and was very likely a member of that secret society, because the NFL does a lot with 3-2-2. And again, George W. Bush was the president of the United States, a member of Skull and Bones. And not to mention, they gave us a movie in Hollywood about Skull and Bones right before he became president-elect in 2001, at the end of 2000, that Hollywood predictive programming. And then Paul Walker died on what became the anniversary of his father's death, who was also in Skull and Bones. But here, I just want you to see something. The Johns Hopkins University, and again, that's how they refer to it, with the in the front. If you spell that out, the Johns, and it's Johns, not John, the Johns Hopkins University, it's got this 3-2-2 in it. Gematria is based on the alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with the rules of numerology. This is a very special number to Yale, Skull and Bones, secret societies, Genesis 3-2-2, Kabbalah, 3 pillars, 22 paths. There's a lot to this number. And here, just to show you a point, Genesis 3-2-2 is what the Abrahamic religions are based out of, right? Abrahamic religions is 3-2-2. Genesis 3-2-2 speaks of the tree of life, the physical model for Kabbalah, where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from. And again, 3 pillars, 22 paths in the tree of life, the physical model for Kabbalah mentioned in Genesis 3:2:2. And there's different wording in the New International Version and the King James Version, but despite the different wording, both verses, copy and paste them, New International Version, King James Version. Copy and paste Genesis 3:2:2 up to knowing good and evil, and you'll see that both verses sum to 3:2:2. But the thing is, Kabbalah is the most important of the ancient mystery religions, which is also 3:2:2. So anyway, big boss number. And when I see it coded around sports, like how I did yesterday, that's why when I was like, oh man, because I thought this game was, there were good riddles on both sides. But then when I saw this 3:2:2 thing, I was saying, oh man. So anyway, the Johns Hopkins University, let me write it out one more time, founded by a Skull and Bones member, where their fraternities at Building 322, the Johns Hopkins University 322. The man who founded the Johns Hopkins is a Skull and Bones member. His name is Daniel Coit Gilman. Look it up. Daniel Coit Gilman. Here, I'll just show you. Daniel Coit Gilman. And not only is his name 76 in Gematria, his birthday is July 6th. 7-6, right? 7-6. And George W. Bush, who again went to Skull and Bones, who was the president when the whole 9/11 Patriot Act, Patriots, Tom Brady thing took off. His birthday is July 6th, right? And notice when I write out Skull and Bones, just think about this. In the most pure cipher, Skull and Bones is 41. The father, George Herbert Walker Bush, was the 41st president. He ended up dying on November 30th, and we predicted that he would not live past 94, and he would not live past November of 2018. He died on November 30th, 11 plus 30, 41, the 5-year anniversary of Paul Walker dying. And, again, Paul Walker starred in The Skulls in 2000, which came out right before we got the Skull and Bones president. Well, the second of the two Bushes, who are both members of Skull and Bones. But notice, one was number 41, and the other's birthday is 7-6. Just like the guy who founded the Johns Hopkins, this very influential, university. I mean, again, the place that was simulating the coronavirus pandemic 666 days before it was declared. Secret societies, numbers. But you see how Skull and Bones is 202? That's the Washington, D.C. area code, which is a Jesuit stronghold. The Jesuits, Skull and Bones, Templars, they're all related. They all go back to the Catholic Church. Skull and Bones 149, usually a great number with Skull and Bones rituals. Today, the game that we missed, for sure in a big way, was the Ravens-Browns game, which we'll talk about. But I thought Harbaugh was going to get his 149th win today. Because what's interesting about today is if you write out December 12th, it equals 76 as well. And something that we've been zeroed in on is if last week the Bengals lost to the Chargers and the Seahawks upset the 49ers, which we liked last week, it would set up this scenario for the 49ers and Bengals to both become 7-6 against each other today on this day, which they did. And we like the over in that game, too, because we thought there'd be 49 points in the game, which there was. But this is the San Francisco 49ers' 76th season, right? So the Skull and Bones 76 thing is bigger than just the ritual of Tom Brady. And remember, American football is credited to Walter Camp, who went to Yale and was likely a member of Skull and Bones. But San Francisco has the 76-202 in it as well. It's the 49ers' 76th season. Again, both teams became 7-6 against each other today. And something I've been talking about since Joe Burrow won the championship, and then he went number 1 in the NFL after the Joe Montana Bowl between the Niners and Chiefs in Super Bowl 54, where Joe Montana's 54, is that this year's the Bengals 54 season. The Bengals have just been doing 54 ritual after 54 ritual this year. And we also thought this is why it would come together today with the Joe Montana 49ers, Joe Burrow Bengals. If you don't know NFL history, Joe Montana's 49ers beat the Bengals twice in Super Bowls, including in Super Bowl 16 where he wore number 16. But Joe Montana and Joe Burrow, who share the name Joe, and they both had their big rituals in 2020, the year of Joes, from Tiger King Joe. Keep in mind now Joe Burrow's on the Bengal Tigers, right? Joe Rogan got that incredible contract with whatever it was it Spotify or something? There was more. Joe Biden, of course, wins the election in 2020. It was the year of Joe. And so we've been following this very clearly. So that's why we saw the riddle so clearly with the Bengals and the Chargers last week, how it would set up this week for the 7-6. And the thing was, for today's game, it was at 48.5 points. And I said I like the Niners and a 49-point score, so you got to take the over. Because, again, it's the 49ers, and 49 is more than a number to the NFL. NFL has Gematria 49, as does America. Calls itself America's game. And these teams met in the Super Bowl 2 times, and it's a week of Super Bowl rituals, paying tribute to history's past. Thursday Night Football this week on the 9th was a rematch of Super Bowl 9. One of the prop bets we liked was Franco Harris. Franco Harris was the MVP of Super Bowl 9 for the Steelers, the running back. Now they have Najee Harris, who could be confused with Franco Harris, as I just did, because they share the same surname. But Najee Harris, we saw coming into the game, he was on 7 career touchdowns. If I remember right, he had 5 rushing, 2 receiving. And we said, man, if he gets 2 touchdowns, he's at 9 on the 9th in the tribute to Super Bowl 9 where Franco Harris was the MVP. That sounds good to me. What do you know? He scored 2 touchdowns. He made you wait all game for him, but they came. And again, it's from realizing that these games are a circus. They're the WWE. They're a script. You know, all these guys with all these headsets and all these secretive boxes covering up their face all game. God, it's almost like a conspiracy's going on over there. And again, it's just so obvious. When you look at these games through a gambler's lens, how close they are to the over-unders, how they toy with the gamblers in the final moments. You know, like my community had a ton of stress today at the end of the day because we liked the Niners in a huge way. They almost blew the whole lead and lost the game. Then they come back to win with the 49 points right on the nose. And, you know, I started off with the Bucks-Bills was a very tight game, but by the end of the stream, I was like, man, this Bucks Skull and Bones thing looks pretty good. And, you know, they dominated, then they gave up the huge lead, and then it went to overtime. Both of these games went to overtime. So think about that, too, in terms of league-wide rituals. Think about that. Both of these games are the last 2 games of the day to wrap up before Sunday Night Football. And think about it. They both are similar games. One team has a huge lead. They give it up late. It goes to overtime, but then the team with the huge lead prevails. The 49ers gave up the huge lead to the Bengals. The Buccaneers gave up the huge lead to the Bills. Now, where's the greater connection? Tom Brady's from the Bay Area, right? He grew up a 49er fan. And again, Tom in Gematria equals 33. Today he got his 33rd win against the Bills. Sunday is the only day of the week that equals 33, so, you know, Tom rules Sunday. But, I mean, not only does he get his 33rd win versus the Bills and become 33-3 against him as he did, he does it with 33 points on the same thing that's been making me laugh at the NFL since way before I understood this letters and numbers and rigged by the numbers game. I didn't understand this when I knew the NFL was rigged. I was a young person when I knew the NFL was rigged. All I had to do was watch the game, the nonsensical decisions, the impossible drops from guys paid millions to play a sport. When I'm looking at this as a middle school kid thinking like, I would never drop that pass, man. You pay me millions of dollars. I'm definitely never going to drop that pass. You know, I'll do it for free as a middle school kid. This is a trained adult that can't make that catch in this situation? Please, how's he on the field? You know, this has been my attitude since I was a child, and I think this is the attitude of a lot of athletes. But it's not just the drops. It's the impossible decisions in sports if you know how to play these games, and they just get more ridiculous as time goes on. Tom Brady's 25-point comeback over the Falcons. Falcons 25 on 2/5 in the 97th season, the 25th prime, the year they moved the touchback to 25 yards. This is mockery. And anyway, again, just this little crossing route. And I mean, a 58-yard touchdown on that, which in the NFL, if it's open, probably goes for normally between, 7 and maybe 15 yards. But for Tom Brady's career, so often they go the distance and are game winners and game-changing moments. It's just like, it's just such a mockery, man. And the fact they have him out there at this age, he goes to... See, that's the thing about him and Bush, you guys. Look at this. In Gematria, right? Florida equals 43, right? Florida equals 43. And when you write football, it equals 43. And when you write out Yale, where Skull and Bones is, Yale's 43. And again, American football is credited to Walter Camp. Now think about it. When Bush became president, he was number 43. His dad was the 43rd vice president. And his brother, Jeb, was the 43rd governor of Florida when the election came down to Florida. For those of you who don't remember, in 2000, in the evening of the election, it was called that Al Gore won the election, who was the vice president Clinton. Al Gore's the new president of the United States. This went on for like 20 or 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden the news broke. Wait a minute. There's a comeback. Something's off in Florida. And the thing was, I was in high school when this happened. I wasn't even old enough to vote. I was 17 years old in 2000. And for the whole month up to the election, the news everywhere was that the election was going to come down to Florida. And I was in high school arguing with my teacher saying, if the polling's this accurate and they know it's just going to come down to Florida, and that seems weird because his brother's the governor there, I mean, like, what's even the point of voting? If it's already figured out, like, down to this much, and then it played out that way. And I still remember my teacher going, "Oh, Hubbard, you're an idiot. You still got to go out and vote. It's based on what they expect people to do." It's like, I don't know. If they got it figured out, it's coming down to one state. I don't know what we're voting for in Washington State. But, again, we're about as far away from Florida as you can be. But anyway, that's exactly how it played out. And then it was a crazy overturned finish and all this controversy. And the Supreme Court stopped the recount. It's like, what? Why would they stop a recount? Shouldn't we make sure we have the right person in there? Supreme Court decides that, we shouldn't be having this recount. Could undermine the legitimacy of how our elections appear. It's like, what? I thought the legitimacy thing is to make sure the vote is right. But anyway, the whole thing was all about 43. And then what age does Brady go down to Tampa at? And then all of a sudden they win the Stanley Cup. They're in the World Series. They win the Stanley Cup back-to-back. A hurricane passes overhead the day they win it the second time. Lightning in Gematria equals 44. When they won it the first time, it was 44 days after the Bay Area burned up from the unprecedented lightning, which fell on the Jesuit anniversary, which is also the same day in history in 1952 that weather warfare was first admitted to, August 15th. But anyway, although that's a side story, but the point is, all of this stuff is numerical ritual. That's why when I saw yesterday with the Brady 3-2-2 thing, I was like, man, this guy's whole career is skull and bones. And that said, let's go through these other games. Let's just go through them. We'll start at the top. Okay, so the game that I got wrong today, that I was definitely wrong on, I did say, and I feel kind of dumb about this. Sometimes I downplay something that I shouldn't have. Notice the Browns did get to 7-6. They did get to 7-6, so that fit in with the December 12th and the Skull and Bones theme. What I acknowledged about the Browns is Mayfield had a riddle to win, and I really should have thought more about that because Mayfield won the Heisman by the numbers. You know what? Let me see if I can find this post. Mayfield. This was the easiest Heisman to call in all the years I've done it. The year that Mayfield did it. Let's see. Let me see. Okay, Baker Mayfield, 239, and he won that Heisman 239 days after his birthday. That's how it was for Baker Mayfield. That was December 9th, 2017. And anyway, he's a Heisman winner. This is the Heisman weekend, and he beats the division rival Ravens. And remember, the old Browns team folded and became the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson got injured in the game. I call that falling on your number. Today leaves 19 days left in the year. Jackson equals 19. Sometimes people ball out when it's like that, and sometimes they get injured. When Aaron Rodgers has lost with a 77 riddle on the board, he's gotten injured in those games. And so, I did see the Mayfield narrative, and because it's Heisman week, I really should have put a lot more stock in that. I mean, there's always rituals between college and pro, so I should have been like, yeah, he did win the Heisman. And anyway, so that was the miss. The Ravens fall to 3-4 away. The Ravens do like that number 34. Ravens is 34. They won both their Super Bowls with 34 points. You might recall the Monday Night Football on the anniversary of Tupac's death, which was Ravens in Nevada against the Raiders. And we're all game, the whole ritual was 34 over and over and over, and Derek Carr won the game on his 34th completion to a wide-open receiver on a busted coverage. And when the whole game was 1,034 rituals, which we documented. So the Ravens fall to 3-4 away. There were some things there in that game. And, the Heisman thing I should have put more stock in. The Titans today got their 8th straight win at home versus the Jaguars, the 8th straight win on the day leaving 19 days left in the year. 19 is the 8th prime number. So 8th straight home win over the Jags. The Chiefs decimated the Raiders. Like I told you last week, Kansas City equals 67, a number that plays strong in that city. 67 is also the 19th prime number, going with today leaving 19 days left in the year. The Raiders fall to 6-7 away. And there was one other 67 on the board in this game. I forget what it was. But Chiefs rout the Raiders. Big number for Kansas City, 67. The Saints. We like the Saints to get to 6-7 today because there's only 2 teams in the NFL that equal 19. Seattle, who we liked a lot today, and we like Seattle to cover the spread. And we like the Saints a lot today. The 2-19 teams on the day leaving 19 days left in the year. Saints get to 6-7. Again, 67, the 19th prime. And the Cowboys in Washington, we favored the Cowboys in this one. Washington falls to 6-7. Football team equals 67. And when you run it the other way around, football team equals 41 like Dallas. Today, Dak Prescott became 4-1. I forget if it's overall against Washington or at Washington. I think it's actually at Washington. I think he became 4-1 against Washington at Washington. But it's one or the other. But anyway, football team 67, and this is why we gave Heineke the edge last week. Last week, Heineke became 6-7 as an NFL starter because he'd played more than just this season. This week, Washington falls to 6-7, football team 67. Falcons and Panthers, I worried about this game. The Panthers last year, I remember last year, the Panthers started off so great for us, and then all of a sudden, like, Panthers would have things lining up, and it would miss, and it would miss, and it would miss, and by, like, the third time, I was like, okay, something's wrong with this Panthers team. They have been that way ever since. They have been the weirdest damn team, the Panthers. And either team could become 6-7 today, and Panthers did fall to 2-5 at home, like Falcons is 25. But what I worried about with the Panthers the most, because Cam Newton had 3 reasons to win today, but what I worried about with the Panthers is that they would fall to 5-8. Because remember, that's how a lot of people got here. My prediction for Super Bowl 50 in October of that season, I said, look at this. If Peyton Manning in his 18th season goes to the Super Bowl and rides off into the sunset with the white Broncos, wouldn't it be so appropriate to beat the Black Panther in the Bay Area where the Black Panthers were founded, because that Super Bowl 50 was in San Francisco, hosted by the 49ers, the Golden Anniversary, hosted by the team named after the Gold Rush, and it was on the 38th day of the year, February 7th. Gold equals 38. Colorado equals 38. It's the 38th state. Death, murder, killing, RIP 38. Again, the Broncos won with 38 today. And as I recall, there was a death of a former longtime Denver Nugget right before that Super Bowl. I got to go back and look. It was an old timer, but it was like perfectly synced with the game. Anyway, Huey P. Newton equals 58. That's the founder of the Black Panther Party. And by Cam Newton starting against a quarterback who'd already been in the Super Bowl, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton became the 58th starter in Super Bowl history at the quarterback position. And Huey P. Newton's 58. Today, now that he's back with the Panthers, they fall to 5-8 versus Atlanta, where the Boulets headquartered out of. And originally they're from Philly, but now they're in Atlanta. There's a lot of black secret societies in the Atlanta area based out of. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. was a member of one of them from that city. And again, just Black Panthers. And by the way, if you don't know the history of the Black Panthers, all their original meetings started in Catholic churches. But, yeah, had Cam Newton won today, for example, here's what's killing about the Panthers right now is they get good riddles and they don't fulfill them. And I warn the community in a big way, if you take the Panthers, do not let this game ruin your day because the Panthers are very iffy. And we saw the reason for them to lose. But, you know, the World Series that just happened, we liked the underdog Atlanta Braves in a huge way against the Astros because we saw that if the Astros lost the World Series, they'd get their 69th postseason loss all time. They came in with 65. They needed 4 losses to get to 69. And if they lost in the World Series, they came in with 11 World Series losses. If they lost 4 more, they'd have 15 World Series losses. Atlanta is 69 with the alphabetic order, 15 with the alphabetic order in rules numerology. And had Cam Newton won today, he would have got his 69th career win as a Carolina Panther. And if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Atlanta's also 48. He would have got his 48th home win of his career. And I think he would have become 5-3 at home versus Atlanta, and Carolina equals 53. So, I mean, normally when a quarterback has that, that's a win. But that's the way Carolina's been now for the last, season and a half. They have just been this team where when things line up for them, they're not hitting. So, it's not a shock. And him falling to 5-8 does make some sense. I mean, it's the Huey P. Newton thing again. But it's just weird how this team just keeps having these good alignments where you'd think they would pick up the W. So we're aware of that, though. The Seahawks and Texans, we liked the Seahawks a lot today, and we liked them to cover. They were a 7.5-point favorite on the road, which even though the Texans suck, the Seahawks aren't good this year, and they don't have an offense. So it seemed like a lot of points to say the Seahawks need to cover by. But we said, see, this seems like bait for a smart gambler who's thinking like, that's a lot of points in the NFL on the road. Take Texans to cover. We like the Seahawks to win and cover today because they were a 7.5-point favorite. And again, 19 days left in the year, the 8th prime number. So I said an 8-point win or better makes a lot of sense. And Russell Wilson, we said if Russell Wilson wins today, he'll get his 46th career win. Look at how many points are in the game. 33-13. That's 46 points. Houston, Texas equals 46. Big number there in Houston, Texas. Astro World 46. George Floyd at age 46. You know, a lot of Houston 46 stuff. And 46 points scored in the game as Russell Wilson gets his 46th road win. And the Seahawks also got to 3-4 away, winning by 20 points. The word Texans forwards is 20. In reverse, it's 34. So they get to 3-4 away like 34, winning by a margin of 20. And then the Broncos get to 7-6 today. Thomas equals 76, right? And thought they had a good chance to cover their spread as well because they were a 7.5-point favorite. And I said, Demaryius Thomas, 88. Could be a lot about 8. And you know what? I feel like in hindsight, I should have had a video out yesterday guaranteeing the Broncos would win with 38 points. Like, I should have had that thought. Colorado, 38 death all the time. If you go back and watch my video from the start of this year when Vincent Jackson died in a big 38 ritual on the 38th day of the year, right after his Bucks won the Super Bowl, I mentioned how there's 5 states in the nation that equal 38, and the most 38 of all of them is Colorado because it's the 38th state in order of statehood. Again, Colorado, death, murder, killing, RIP, they're all 38. Over and over with this number. And remember, he just died at age 33, right? 33. Used to play with Tom Brady. Used to catch balls from Tom Brady. But he just died at 33 in Atlanta on the 33rd parallel. And that was what Super Bowl 33 was. The Broncos over Atlanta. Chargers we like to cover today. They were an 11.5-point favorite. You can't really get any value with an 11.5-point favorite unless you take them to cover. We thought the reason that they would make sense for them to cover is because LA is 13 forwards, 14 in reverse. It's week 14. And Los Angeles is also 37, the 12th prime. So you have 3 reasons there to think that they're going to cover that 11.5-point spread in week 14. I wouldn't feel that confident if it was earlier in the year. It's earlier in the year. It's week 3. Who knows? Maybe it's a 4-point win. But because it's the week number, it makes sense. So we thought Chargers, great shot to cover the spread. Boom, they cover. 49ers. We really like the 49ers for the reasons we started at the beginning. We like the over-under. The over-under was at 48.5 for this game. We said 49ers, 49 points. Again, NFL equals 49, America 49, Super Bowl 49. Remember when the 49ers beat the Chargers with 49 points in the Super Bowl? But again, it's the 49ers' 76th season, San Francisco 76. Both teams become 7-6. If you got here late at the beginning of the stream, I already went over everything about this game and Joe Burrow and Joe Montana and how it all fits together. But this is something we saw coming, multiple NFL weeks away. A big ritual for the 49ers' 76th season. And don't forget about the Bay Area Philadelphia link. A lot of teams from Philly are now in the Bay Area. San Francisco equals 76. Philadelphia has the team, the 76ers. Last night they make a big comeback. They tie it up 75-75, then hit the free throw to go up 76-75 and never look back, extending their lead the rest of the way, dropping dropping the Warriors to 21-5, who are originally from Philadelphia. That's where the Warriors started, but they fell to 21-5 in the 215 area code. And shout out to the community because people pointed out that not only was there that, Steph Curry picked up his 267th career loss last night, and that's another Philadelphia area code. 215 and 267. And again, couldn't have scripted any better. Huge ritual game, 49 points, overtime. Again, these 2 games go to overtime. And again, Tom Brady from the Bay Area. They couldn't have scripted any better. They couldn't have scripted it any better. So, again, just remember anytime anybody is telling you things like, I'm a scam artist, just remember what that person is. That person's a liar and a fraud. Nobody with a right mind thinks I'm a scam artist. The knowledge I have taught people has helped a lot of people build up a lot more wealth than they have ever had. If you've ever met anybody that took this knowledge and lost with it, I got news for you. You know what that person is? If you can't win with winning knowledge, you're a loser. And, you know, there's great tools in the world that some men just can't wield. And again, there's a lot of people who've been in this community for a long time, who've been with this knowledge for a long time, and have just continued to build for many years. And I'm here explaining the same shit to you guys, day in and day out. How many times have I taught you guys about death in 38, the 49ers in 49, Tom Brady in 33? And for those of you guys who are new here, understand my channel's been deleted a million times. I had to separate GematriaEffectNews and sports in 2018. Gematria Effect Sports has stayed up ever since. Doesn't get any views anymore, Again, I wish the old stuff was still up so we could go back and laugh at the comments that were left in the original days. It'd be hilarious to go back to the 2014, 15, 16 videos where I was right, but all the comments left were all just people making fun of and how stupid this sounded. And again, I mean... I wish we could go back and look at the spring training the year the Mets went to the World Series with 60-1 odds. Just nothing but negative comments and just like wacky schizo. This is the stupidest thing I ever heard of. And then did any of those people come back when the Mets went to the World Series? No, I mean, they didn't come back and say anything. But that's how it was starting out in the early days of this work. And we just proven our point day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And again, we're not perfect, but we dominate a lot of weeks, a lot. And yeah, so, and again, just where things can go wrong. Let's go back to the Vikings and Steelers game. Again, the night of this game, wrong about the overall pick, right about the prop bet, which was more lucrative, and right about the basketball game we did that night. And the thing was, the pattern we lost on in the Steelers-Vikings game, we haven't lost on that pattern in over a year. So, I mean, there's probably been 12 wins off that pattern before it finally went against us on Thursday night. And, nobody with a right mind's complaining about that. They're not like, well, fuck you, man. It's like, no, they know. They've won 12 times off that. It finally got the better of us, but shit. We still put out 3 picks that night, and 2 of them came through, so it's not the end of the world. But to go back to this Vikings-Steelers game, I thought it was all about Super Bowl IX, and it had a lot to do with Super Bowl IX, but the Steelers won Super Bowl IX. And what's funny is the score was 16-6. Now I kind of get the joke. I didn't think about it before the game, but look at the Steelers' record after losing. 6-6-1. Isn't that kind of like 16-6 in reverse? That was the score of Super Bowl IX, 16-6. But see, I thought the Steelers would become 7-5 in the win and loss column because the Super Bowl was in 75. And the thing I worried about with the Vikings is if they lost, they would have been 5-8. And Steelers is 58, but Cousins did have a great riddle to win. He got his 58th career win, and he stayed on 58 regular season losses. And again, Steelers is 58, like Kevin Green died last year of the Steelers at age 58, right before Monday Night Football where the Steelers played. It's like, come on, man. Don't people see this? The Tom Brady's Bucks got to 9-4 on Monday Night Football last week, and then 2 days after the game, number 94, former player for the Bills, dies, who's the all-time special teams leading tackler. And just this stuff goes on all the time. And by the way, special teams equals 75, and the Bills fell to 7-5 in that game. But the Vikings also got to 6-2 all-time at home versus the Steelers, and there was 62 date numerology, and Minneapolis equals 62. The name Floyd 62. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Houston, Texas is 62. Remember George Floyd from Minneapolis, killed by the Park Police, which has the 62 connection. Anyway, the Vikings got to 6-2 at home versus the Steelers on a 62 date numerology. It was the 8th home game. They won by 8 points. If you add 1 through 8 together, it equals 36. And I think I'm forgetting something. I think there was something about 36 in this game on top of that, but I forget what it was. So anyway, wrong about the overall game, but right about the prop bet. And the basketball game we picked, it's because it had that number. We call it 35 Thursday. Thursday equals 35. If it's on the board, it's almost always hitting. And it didn't hit for the Steelers. People will say Kirk Cousins became 3-5, I think, on Thursday Night Football. I think Kirk Cousins became 3-5, which is kind of like 35. But the Steelers actually had a true 35, which is usually better. So, and again, that's why I always teach people. You don't go out and bet your house. Even sometimes the surest looking riddle will fail, but you're going to hit the majority of your riddles. And see, the cardinal sin for gamblers is parlays. They say don't parlay, it's burning your money. Well, that's not true in this community. There are people who have been doing this for years with parlays, making small wagers. They'll put out 8 tickets for the night. They anticipate that they're going to hit on at least 2. And if they hit on those 2, they're way ahead. It doesn't matter that they lost on the 6 other tickets. The thing is, these guys who structure their bets that way, that's what they're usually doing. And they're mostly hitting on at least 2. Some days they're doing a lot better. Some days all 8 parlays are coming through and they're racking up a gold mine in a day, but they didn't lay a lot out on the table. And, like last week in the NFL, last week a lot of people made a lot of money, but the thing is, like, for example, last week, if you laid out $150 and you made $2,000 last week, like people did in the community, had I done something right last week, those same people, they would have made like $5,000 instead of just $1,500 or $2,000 as they did, and it's because I screwed up. And what I screwed up with last week, because again, this is figuring out the riddle. Like dumb people will come in and they'll be like, if it's rigged, how come you can't call everyone then? And it's like, you know why you're saying that? Because you're dumb. We know that a movie and a TV show is rigged and scripted. Does that mean that when the movie and the TV show comes on, that we automatically know exactly how it's going to end? No, we don't. And the only reason you didn't think that through yourself is because, again, you're not that bright. So I'm talking to all the people out there that are like that, which might be, I know the people who are subscribed here I'm not really talking to, but the new people who come here, I'd imagine that a new person here, I'm probably talking to 80% of the people that think that way. But here's where I screwed up last week. It was this Lions-Vikings game. And you see how the Lions became 1-10? If you've read my last book, I pretty much have a chapter on George Floyd, Minnesota, 9/11, why they said he was on his neck for 8:46 at first, like how the first tower hit the World Trade Centers at 8:46. Remember, in Gematria, Minnesota equals 110. The World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall. Dave Chappelle equals 110. He came out and did the skit 846 about it. And the name Rockefeller is also 110. That's who built the World Trade Centers. But the point is, they put these numbers together. Minnesota equals 110. A lot of rituals with 110 in Minnesota. And I totally neglected when I looked at this. And I think it's because the Lions were 0-10-1. And something about that tie game just didn't even make me think about the 110. I just missed it somehow. But had I seen that the Lions could become 1-10, because here's what happened. Goff got his 45th win in this game. It might have been home win, or I forget if it was home or overall, but it was week 13, and when you write out 13, it's 45 forwards and backwards. So I saw this, and I said, if the Lions do win, I said it would have to be that. Goff getting the 45th win. 45's the ritual number. Remember, ritual equals 45. Here's a good one in history. Remember, Berlin Wall equals 45? Donald Trump declared the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. There's a lot more to that ritual as well. His wife's from right over in the same other region of the world. But that's what happened. Goff got this 45th win in week 13. But see, I forgot about the Minnesota 110. And what I always tell people, and realize, for all the people who say I'm greedy and stuff, I do videos like this. And for all the people who are young and don't have a credit card or can't donate $1 a month or $5 a month to get the knowledge, I do videos like this, and I teach a lot in these. So for all the people that say, oh, you're so greedy, you only charge for it, it's bullshit. For 5 years I did this for totally free, and even now, this is a total lesson right here. But these ciphers, it's the alphabetic order. That's where Minnesota's 110. That cipher's a great cipher. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology is a great cipher. The cipher that's probably the most misleading is just the reverse alphabetic order. Like, for example, had the Steelers won, they would have been 7-5-1. 751's the 133rd prime number. Could have done that over Minnesota. That cipher a lot of time is fool's gold. The reverse cipher with numerology plays a lot better than just the reverse cipher alone. Remember, Minnesota hosted Super Bowl 52. But the ciphers on the left are better than the ciphers on the right. So you see how Minnesota's 110? Because I overlooked that, I was looking at this. I didn't see the Minnesota 110 thing. It escaped my mind somehow. And when I look at this in hindsight, it feels impossible to me. I'm like, how did I not see that? Like, what the hell? Part of the thing was the Lions have done a lot of 66 shit this year. Lions and Baltimore Ravens is 66. Remember when the Lions lost on the 66-yard field goal? But Lions is 66, and if you go back and look, had Minnesota won, they would have been 6-6 in week 13. 13's the sixth prime. And there was a few other things too. I think Goff could have got his 37th loss. Vikings is 37. But the thing is, had I seen the 45 paired with the 110, I would have been like, this is the ritual. This is it. Because remember, this was right after the shooting. And where was Biden when the shooting happened in Michigan? He was in Rosemount, Minnesota, and spoke instantly about the game, right? And you got 56 points in it, the big Jesuit signature number against the Jesuits behind all of this. Yale Skull and Bones is part of this same network, you know. Here, to make a point, outside of the base ciphers, there's a few things to know. This is Skull and Bones in the base ciphers. All of these numbers get used ritualistically again and again with Skull and Bones. You remember the King Super shooting this year on March 22nd, 322? 322 is the building number for Skull and Bones. Look at King Supers. You see how it's 149? And the shooting was on March 22nd, 322? If you go back and look, you'll see that there was an article written about how the last victim was identified at 2:02 in the morning, the day after the shooting. 2:02, right? Now think about how is this again? 3:22 in the morning is the 202nd minute of the day. You see that? Like if it was 3:22 a.m., that'd be the 202nd minute of the day. But anyhow, big old Skull and Bones rituals with these numbers in a lot of ways. But here's another cipher to know. It's just based on recognizing the capitalization of the letters. Whoops, I hit the wrong cipher. Where is it at? There it is. It's called Francis Bacon Gematria. It's lowercase a through lowercase z is 1 through 26, right? Uppercase a through uppercase z is 27 through 52. So now instead of having 1 through 26, you got 1 through 52, like decks in the card, right? Cards in the deck. And in that cipher, Skull and Bones is 201. Now remember Paul Walker did the movie The Skulls. And in that movie, the fraternity gives him a red Porsche. Do you remember how he died? On November 30th, 11 plus 30, 41, 5 years to the day of number 41 dying, who was a member of Skull and Bones, George Herbert Walker Bush, Herbert Walker, Paul Walker. Paul Walker gets a red Porsche in that movie. He dies in a mysterious red Porsche crash, or so they tell us. When that movie came out in history, it was 201 days after his birthday. And remember, 201 is this huge, big boss number with the Jesuits. Tom Brady was born in 1977. That was 201 years after this nation was established in 1776. And remember, Skull and Bones is 76, like we began with the stream. Now, here, let me go back to this. Tom Brady, Rams, 201. Let me see if this pulls it up. Here we go. So this is an article that ESPN wrote. The amazing numbers behind Tom Brady's march to 201. 201, right? He got his 201st career win over the Rams, the same team he beat in Super Bowl 36. And again, ciphers outside of the base ciphers to know. These are pretty much the ones to know outside the base ciphers. Jewish Gematria. Rams is 201 in that cipher. You know, no other team equals 201 in Jewish Gematria. So Tom Brady, born 201 years after 1776, they make a big deal about his 201st career win over the Rams. They didn't do this for his 200th win. This is what I was talking about at the time. You know, I covered this back when this happened in 2016. I said, isn't it interesting that, you know, they didn't make any noise about his 200th win, but then they got to bring up 201, which is the same team he beat in the Super Bowl 36, and he's beat him again since, right? Super Bowl 53. But what I didn't realize back then is his wife, Giselle, her birthday is July 20th. That's the 201st day of the year. That's the same day of the moon landing. Neil Alden Armstrong equals 201. And the thing is, 1776, not only was this nation born in that year, remember it was 9/11, Patriot Act, Patriots. By the way, from George Washington's birthday to 9/11 is 201 days later. The Jesuit Order equals 201. And again, the first Jesuit university is named after George Washington. And don't forget, Pearl Harbor is 201 days after the day Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits. The Jesuits are a military order. George Washington, military leader. 9/11, Patriots. But Tom Brady, 201, the Illuminati established May 1st, 1776. Adam Weishaupt, He died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment, November 18th, which is the 322nd day of the year, 322, which goes back to Skull and Bones, which also has the 201 connection. And the thing is, here, I got to look up this word. I already forgot what it is. Shoot. Hold on. I got to show you this word. That's going to make me log in first. Hold on. Did I type my password right? Hold on. Check this out. Knights Templar 201. What's the word? It's like... Try it this way. Hold on. The official name of the... Shoot. The official name of the Templar Cross, whatever its official name is 201. And the Skull and Bones is modeled after how the Knights Templar buried their dead. Damn. Let me try something. I don't know. I would think that would come up. Shoot. And if you're not familiar with the Knights Templar Cross, it is a red cross. You think about the Red Cross organization. Always asking for your money, And if you read the fine print, like cents out of every $20 you donate makes it to the actual cause. I'll get it another time, but the official name of the Knights Templar Cross equals 201. Just like the Jesuit order, the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola, his name is 201, where in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis I, to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio's 201. And remember, Rome equals 51. Tom Brady won Super Bowl 51 over the Falcons. And that's the only Super Bowl that Pope Francis ever blessed, and it was on his 51st day of his age. Vince Lombardi, Jesuit educated, died one day before the 51st NFL season began. I wish I could look up this. All right, maybe if I just do it this way. Official name of Knights Templar Cross. Let me see. It's red something. Like it's... I got to do the research. But anyway, if you find its true name, it is 201. And again, it's just unmistakable how all of this stuff comes together. Tom Brady is the chosen one. Who was the Buck last year, right around the former NFL player who played for the Bucks? He did the radio interview. It went kind of viral online because he was telling the guys that the NFL's fixed. And they said, well, what do you make of Tom Brady then? I mean, how he wins so much? And it's just like the radio guys weren't listening to what he was saying. He's like, well, I guess he's kind of lucky. He's in the right, I forget how he's at right spot, right time. And don't forget, Tom Brady's birthday is August 3rd, 8-3, football 83. He's born on the perfect day. And him and Peyton Manning were the faces of the league for a period of time. Peyton Manning's birthday is March 24th, the 83rd day of the year. He ended up on the Broncos, which drafted Elway in 83. They say that's the best QB draft class ever. But yeah, you guys, that's who runs this. Secret societies. And it's weird the way they do it. Remember, the weirdest thing we've seen in all the years that we've been documenting is what happened to Alex Smith on November 18th, the 322nd day of the year. He got his leg broken by J.J. Watt, whose birthday is March 22nd, 322. And they said Joe Theismann was at the game, and Joe Theismann broke his leg in the same way. It was Lawrence Taylor who did it, but Joe Theismann got his leg broken in the same way on the same hash mark that Alex Smith got his leg broken on the 322nd day of the year. And they even came out with a story about how Joe Theismann has a nephew also named Alex Smith. And again, 33 years to the day. Just numbers that show up a lot. So, I'm going to go live on GematriaEffectNews 24 because I got a book cover contest for my new book, and I want to go over the cover submissions and get people's vote on that. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. Again, congrats to the winners. And yeah, I wish people would wake up to how sick the rituals are. I mean... Just the ritualistic deaths are I don't understand how more people don't question how these players just drop dead so often over the years. These young athletes. I mean, just to paint the picture, my grandma, she died spring of 2019, and I guarantee you, had she died a spring later, they would have said she died from COVID. She died from pneumonia. And the thing is, it's amazing how my grandma lived to be in her mid-80s. she, she lived a rough life. She did not take care of herself. She drank, she smoked her whole life. She didn't eat well. She eats sugary cereals until the day she died, junk food. Didn't get a lot of exercise, watched a lot of TV, not taking care of herself. But she still lived to be in her 80s. So many of these young athletes, just like amazing physique, incredible stamina, endurance, just like amazing examples of what a human vessel can be. And they're just dropping dead at young ages. And just so often in the most suspicious of times, especially when the championships are rolling around in the playoffs and the big primetime games. And again, almost every time it happens, we're talking about the same number, 38. And then the Broncos got to go out and score 38 this week and get to 7-6 in a week full of 6-7, 7-6. Thomas, 76. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now, and we will be back on Gematria Effect News 24 in just a moment. Do the book cover contest if you're interested. And you know what? There's still going to be time to submit entries, but it's going to have to probably be by next weekend. So if you want to get in on that, I'll be talking about over on Gematria Effect News 24. Until next time.